One of the iconic genres of popular music that has its roots ingrained with political expression is punk rock. It would be no exaggeration to say that punk rock in the UK was born as a movement against the political environment in the UK at that time. One of the most important elements to take into consideration when studying the origins of punk rock is the social, political, and economic background of the UK, as they had a very important role in the creation and development of punk rock. Thatcherism was the economic model that characterized the UK in the 70s. This model promoted a free and open British market and encouraged to privatize public sectors. However, one of the most important aspects of Thatcherism was that it was strongly against the welfare state. Thatcherism had a rough position about work unions, and with the privatization of many businesses, disemployment skyrocketed, tensions between classes escalated, and violence within the society grew massively. Punk rock music at that time was characterized by its fast pace with hard-edged melodies and singing styles, heavily using electronic guitars and mixing all those sounds to create noise, mostly due to its DIY or do-it-yourself ethic that the movement developed. Together with that, the punk rock movement created its own fashion trend, anti-establishment ideologies, and influenced the current generation with the punk identity that was formed by the movement. Some of the most known prominent bands of this genre were the Sex Pistols, The Clash, and The Damned.
There have been various critics about the idea that popular music is capable of provoking intellectual thought about current events. Some critics of this idea were Adorno and Horkheimer. According to them, popular music not only has to overcome the ideologies and politics of the time, but it must also deal with the fact that it has become a devalued form of pop art. They call this the culture industry. Culture industry is the commercializing economics of post-war consumerism, meaning that popular music becomes a commodity in a capitalist market, and the only value it has is the value equivalent as an exchange good. Popular music is unable to produce transformative intellectual political content because of its status as a commodity in a capitalist market. Adorno refers to the value of popular music as a fetish, also known as social valuation, something that people only value according to its value in the market as a product, rather than the true essence that it has as an art. Because it is looking to become a product that wants to be exchanged as much as possible, popular music becomes a predictable product that appeals to the masses and doesn't stray away from the norm, and ultimately lacks originality, thus it becomes standardized. American author John Roderick also criticized the political value of punk rock, expressing that he thought of the movement as just another movement that became a market clique, a fashion trend that pretended to be different and exclusive. According to Robert Martinez, Roderick claims ignored the cultural nuance that helped shape punk rock in the UK and presents the movement as if it was also part of the culture industry, as just another standardized trend.
But in actuality, Robert Martinez claims that punk rock in the UK was used as a form of political expression by the repressed by presenting a band that was influenced by others to change their own music into something that provoked deeper thought. Robert Martinez's example was the band Stiff Little Fingers, who were part of the isolated and neglected voices of the Northern Irish society. They made music in response to the social and political problems at the time. Despite rock music's stigma, Stiff Little Fingers punk encourages listeners to think optimistically about Belfast and the Troubles in a way that defies dominant binary identity of politics of the territory. They offer Northern Islanders and the British an everlasting opportunity to imagine themselves outside of the older generation's politics. This song has become one of the anthems of punk rock and offers one of the most complex views on the Troubles. The song calls for attention to the ignored voices in Belfast. Then the song takes on the more larger groups of the Troubles, but rather than issuing attacks and blame on the involved parties and lament on the current situation, it invites the listener to re-envision the conflict. Because the song itself calls for an out-of-the-box thinking, it arguably leaves no space for standardized thinking. Without being given an ideology, but rather told to think about the problem, the listener has the power to choose what to believe in rather than being told what to believe in. In this way, we can see how punk rock was used as a medium to express political opinion and even promote people's own thought. Even nowadays, we can see that while not a majority, there are many artists and bands that dedicate their music to the expression of their ideologies. Some of them do it in a very implicit manner, while others more directly and almost seem like activists doing music.